Welcome to an upload of Steel Talk and Iron Responses.
Let's just talk about, definitely just what's been going on with Houston, the islands, Florida, and everything like that with the storms.
This is turning out to be. I mean, it's somewhat unfortunate that when it's no longer news per se, even though there's stages of it that's still news. From the very first time when Harvey hit, those people are still reeling because power is gone, man. Especially in a tropical region, these people are suffering, and when you don't have enough power to do basic things related to sanitation or related to eating. I mean, there's power needed to generate the cooking process to make a modern society go. So when that's knocked out for weeks, because remember Harvey was a while ago, Irma, and now they're talking Jose coming. So it is devastation. So those of you who do have internet access and still in that region, you know exactly what I'm speaking about. For those who are not, if you still got family member and friends in that area, they still need you. Don't think it's like, okay, they good. They not good. They not good. They're still suffering. So even, a lot of times, it's interesting about human beings. Pride kicks in. Sometimes people don't want to ask, especially people who have never had to ask. When devastation takes, that's not you didn't quit a job and you didn't act irresponsibly. You was doing it right. You had the house, your family, taking care of the home, and bang, nature came and ripped all that stuff from you. So you're not used to, hey, well, I need this. Or you're not used to standing on lines to get food. Or you're not, you're used to providing. So it's doing a lot to people's psyche. It's affecting communities. It's affecting relationships. So there's a lot of emotional trauma taking place right now. So even if you have someone in that region that you don't think they need a resource, which I think they still do, they may just need an ear. Call that brother or that, say, hey man, what's going on? Yeah, and just listen to them for a little while. Because back to, again, coming full circle, managing stress, finding environments that they give you more of a positive outlook. Because so many folks you'd be surprised how gingerly they're balancing things. That one thing out of that balance, and it can just all go to the wayside. So just have that in mind. They're still going through stuff. If you have direct contact, reach out. If you still are donating to organizations, due diligence, do credible ones. And right now, the Red Cross ain't credible on my list. I'm sorry, I ain't trying to defame nobody, but until they address what took place in Haiti, and from what I heard, 6 homes built with like $1 billion, $2 billion or some old insanity. Anyway, find a way to still support and reach those people. Yeah, but you're right, knowledge of God. That storm is still very active.
For people, a lot of times, it doesn't hit close to home. You know what I'm saying? People don't think it's as serious as it usually is. What do you say to the people who probably don't live in these areas? You know what I'm saying? But it may not be thinking it's as serious as it really is.
That depends on the person. That depends on the person because, and my audience, I'm mostly speaking to black people. We are a very empathetic people, man. I know, but I feel, what's going on in the Gaza Strip right now. Have I ever been there? Have I ever been there? No, I haven't been nowhere near it. But when you know oppression, when you know occupation, obviously that's a much more extreme case, but when you're in a community that you only have limited freedoms in, that if you get stopped under the wrong conditions, you can become a statistic. So when you have lived, you can empathize. So no, I know what those folks, from the years even in the South Bronx, when an elevator went out, or when water or pressure, the project situation is a very interesting dynamic where large numbers of people will be thrown into the dark or thrown into a deficit of a basic necessity like running water. So if you felt that and know what that feels like, you can tell what other folks are going through. Now, if you're, from a cut where you didn't have those first-hand encounters, not that you can't be empathetic, But I tell you, boy, you know, the more polish on that silver spoon you was born with, those folks can be, some of them, not all, some of them are wonderful and extremely generous, but a lot of them couldn't give a flying about people. It's about the paper with them, and they make that clear. But yeah. So yeah, those are definitely some of my thoughts on that.
Knowing that, you know, since I guess I could say the 50s, probably even before that, governments have been working on ways to manipulate weather, manipulate certain things with, you know, forecasting storms and things like that. What role do you think that this, you know, events, continuous events happening all over and things like that, may be contributed to man-made situations and even used as something to actually create situations where we have martial law, in certain situations where we're able to take away guns, and situations where we are creating scenarios where we can see how people act when they're panicking and things like that. Because we see what happened, you know, with Katrina and everything like that. So, you know, don't want to be all conspiracy and everything, but we know that these are actualities. You know, the government deals with manipulating weather, deal with changing constantly. Yeah. So, what role do you think that these storms may play within that whole, you know, dynamic?
Yeah, I mean, you know, for me, whenever I'm looking at an activity, an act that I'm trying to understand, one of the first things I try to start with is who benefits from it? Who would this be just a dream, a wonderful occurrence for? Now, the things most people jump over that is like, you know, what country would do that, man? There's Americans there. Why would they, you know, and they did the same people, you know, 20, 15 years ago, was like, what country would fly buildings into its own, fly planes into its own buildings, and blah, blah, blah. So, I mean, there's people, you know, what country would frame somebody and say he was a single person that assassinated the president? And all this stuff, you know, happens here, and no matter how much evidence that comes forward, some people, I think, it goes back to that cognitive dissonance thing. Some people are not prepared to accept that their own government could be capable of that level of treachery. And especially for all the reasons that you just mentioned. If that Haarp, and I'll even say if, because I haven't seen concrete evidence, and a level of this is conspiracy theory, but it's interesting how these storms are hitting these regions at these times. And why not? That saves them from sending armies in. If they need to cripple the people before they drop the dollar, if they need to bring their masses to their knees, it'll be easier to control. And they had that technology. Why wouldn't they release a few storms? Okay, we got the northeast region. Let's go southwest now. All right, we got them there. They have no supplies. Okay, we don't want to do it here. Let's send the military up there. The people are suppressed. Let's let the dollar crash, and let's now rebuild. Let's eliminate who we need to. Let's land grab. You know, you'd be surprised people who think on that level. Cold-hearted, cold-blooded. It's strictly about acquisition and maintaining power. That 1% ain't going to give this stuff up easily. So yeah, I think it could be a very real possibility.
Does the government have this power to create these things?
I believe it exists. I believe it exists. Can I provide anything to bolster that? That's why it is a belief. Like I said, I wouldn't say, yeah, I know. No, I haven't seen anything that I can speak from a knowing perspective. But from what I've learned about history, and it's the same man in different phases of history, but his actions are very similar. So that would be right in line with stuff, if that technology exists. And I've seen enough things, but then again, YouTube and this and that and other sources, it's such a delicate thing because it's like a catch-22. If this system doesn't sanction that knowledge or that expert, a lot of times we shy away from it, especially if knowledge is coming from a person that they've launched their campaign of discreditment or did whatever they could to try to undermine that knowledge getting to the masses.
Yeah, because, you know, at least me and my research growing up and seeing, you know, being exposed to the reality of the existence of what we're actually living in, as opposed to what we've been taught to understand that we're living in. We've seen that the government, you know, they work with mind control machines, they work with weather machines. Like, these things aren't really things that are conspiracy. These are things that you can go look up, and they have articles and documents showing proof that they work on these things and things like that. how do we cut through the, you know, cut through it to see what is real and what is made up? How do we do that? Go about that?
That is the $64,000 question. I mean, how do you, you know, there was a commercial one time, you know, is it live or is it Memorex? You know, that was for this cassette tape that was so clear. They had a woman sing on it, then they played the tape, and the tape broke the glass just like the woman singing. So sometimes it can be so close. So how do you decipher what is the truth? I think the only way is just to keep digging. You got to keep going under the layers, and check different sources. I'm a big proponent of different sources, and especially international sources. Sometimes the truth will drop in a different region of the world before it comes here. And then by the time it comes here, this media will slice and dice it and pre-package it to what for consumption of its masses. So that would be the only way I see it. If someone is sincerely interested in knowing what time we're living in and what are the necessary preparations, you got to dig. You got to be a student of knowledge. You have to be a layman to good researcher. And then once you get truth, you got to act on it, man. That's the thing about the conscious community a little too much. We just, you know, we just want to spin around in our knowledge and just impress people with how many facts and dates and books and titles and, you know, okay, if you ain't manifesting it, it's not showing in our community yet, you know, then there is something that's not working in it, because if it was the answer, the problem is there. So why isn't the answer to the problem coming together yet? But
some people may also attribute this to Mother Nature. You know, if we go out of that situation, we go also say Mother Nature, you know, is creating a system where, you know, maybe the winds from where people have been oppressed and now it's coming back to certain aspects. How do you see with that happening? Because, you know, a lot of people being affected. It's not like white people, black people. It's like everyone's being affected who's in those areas. You know what I'm saying? How much does Mother Nature contribute to some of the things that's happening?
Yeah, that's it. The whole global warming concept of really not really Mother Nature, but Mother Nature rebelling against, you know, the diffusion of chemicals released all around the world. You know, so I mean, it is like, and they took a picture of Earth a couple of 100,000 miles away. That layer, the layer we breathe in, we live in. I mean, that thing is almost like, from that distance, that perspective, is like a layer of skin. So I mean, that stuff is it's designed to replenish itself, you know, with the carbon monoxide given off by the plants, but the insanity that man is heaping, I think, is disrupting nature's ability to keep, I'm sorry, the oxygen from the plants, and we give out the carbon dioxide. So can it ever catch up? And if it can't, we are on the road to wiping ourselves out. That's crazy. The person or the living creature that's supposed to be the most intelligent out of all of them is the #1 seeking to eradicate itself. You know, the dogs ain't even trying to do that. Dogs, you know, and ones in New York dig up in the bag, get themselves a bone, they on about their business. We conducting ourselves to the point where we've created weaponry that could destroy the earth 10 times over. So, you know, it's just, you know, crazy time.
And for those who might be out there, man, who just, you know, concerned about everything that's going on, do you know where or how to go to help the people, you know, that may be in a situation?
People that in a situation related to the storms, I wish I had a number to give specifically. No, I feel bad that I don't have a direct website or number that I can provide. I think the people who are already directly in touch with family members that were there from the very first day, I think the people there know best what they need and who to get it to. So if you have access to someone on the ground, they say, hey, a cousin or a friend of a friend with somebody on the ground, and say, hey, what do they really need and who are they asking us to send it to? And I think that you can't go wrong that way. But I think if you just see a slick commercial, because that same commercial, some of your donation money paid for, because they got to get more money. So a lot of money is going to different things that don't end up feeding the people that need to be fed or sheltering the folks that need homes. So I hope that's that's helpful. And I apologize for those who may have been expecting to have a number. Or if you see one later that's legitimate, that we can put up and post edit, I think that would be great.
Now, the last question I have on the storm situation is, in New York, we had Hurricane Sandy, and it took out a lot of things. People getting killed at gas stations. I remember all of those things. Gas lines were like ridiculous. People were fighting for gas and just, you know what I'm saying? Just to fill their generators and things. It was like a blackout. Police
were patrolling gas stations. It was interesting.
So, what do you say to those? Because a lot of people, before that happened, since we've never seen anything like that, when they talk about it, we're so used to, you know, okay, it's a big storm. Oh, that's just a way for them to sell water, to clear out the stores and things like that. And basically, when it actually did happen, a lot of people were in a messed up situation. What do you say to people when we hear severe storms and things like that coming? What are some of the necessary precautions that needs to be taken?
What, specifically for a place like New York?
Like a place like New York, because this is where it'll affect us right here.
Yeah. You know, now, New York is, I mean, historically, you know, pretty solid ground. You know, especially and we are where we are now, especially really in a wonderful spot related to floods anyway. This is the highest point of Manhattan. City College over there is technically the highest, but we're almost eye level with them. So that in itself, if flooding was ever an issue, which there aren't any major vortexes.
Any natural disasters.
Okay, the next one I would say is earthquakes. And again, New York's pretty solid ground. There was an earthquake though. There was an earthquake. I was on 25th Street when it happened, but it shifted some stuff in the building, and that's a once. And I think the one before that was 25 years. But so those are two natural floods and earthquake. Now Sandy came, so hurricanes can come through here. If that comes, and if it's as devastating as it was, if you live in a region that's in that path, what could you do besides being very assured? Because if a storm is coming through, if it wants to take your building, it'll take it. So you can't stop that, but we can re-up by having the right coverage. Get out of the path if you can. If you're far enough out of the path where you think you can weather it, have your supplies, and that's why the shelves get empty so quick. You know, canned goods are always good to keep in hand. Bottled water is always good. You know the basics. Fill your bathtub up with water before, in case of pipes and everything else breaks. You'll have a full tub of water. Batteries, flashlights, waterproof matches, sleeping bags. If you do have to transport yourselves and your family out of an immediate situation, if you have camping gear, you know that could be lovely. Then the next phase, for you pet lovers, you know, which is, you would think that wouldn't be a main concern, but people love their animals. Make sure you've made some allowances to travel with them. And some of these bigger animals, I don't see how they're going to be able to do it. But if you got the little Chihuahua type that you can put it in a carry along, you're good. But yeah, stock up, stay calm. Don't just rely on your cell phone, because these towers go down, and you maintain at least one landline. Let me be clear, maintain at least one landline, because that in most disasters, especially as of late, that has become the thing that has gotten a lot of folks worried when no one else was able to. So yeah, and keep a cool head.
It gets crazy, man. The looting, the rioting, the craziness.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's only looting, you know, when black folks do it. You know, when white folks do it, they are appropriating proper resources. You know, let's make that distinction.
I've seen a couple guys got arrested down there for stealing shoes and stuff like that.
Yeah, so I don't know, man. It's just, you know, interesting. But yeah, and people don't realize how thinly held together a lot of these societies are, especially Western societies. So you let there be a shift or a deficit in needed resources, and it becomes a survival deal. You know, different sides will come out of folks, and you have to rely on your true alliances at that time. You know, your friends. I mean, you might have friends that might be more reliable than family under those conditions. You know, you got to know exactly who you're going to roll with, because if civil unrest, you know, just like these, quote, they call them riots, but the uprisings, they rarely give a death toll. You know that, and people die in these things, man. You know, all over the place. You know, on the West Coast, you know, the whole city's going up. You don't think they out there doing battle with weapons? Because right then the rules change. You know, it's not the dominant power to a submissive power. Now, both of y'all are just like, so they're running from you just like you running from them. So, and there's some people where that's the only way to let that kind of steam on. Because if you've been beat down from any policing agency for month after month, year after year, your community humiliated, have stuff planned. There's, you know, the cases is, I forgot the county, I think it was the southern state, where they was just snatching black, it was, the population of black people, I think in the town was 10%, but they were like 90% in the only prison that they had in town that all of the white people worked at. It was like some straight up kind of cotton field deal that there was going, and they found out that they was just forging crimes and planting this and just snatching people up and just writing up anything for them. So we must never forget that those are things that could be at play as well.
It's definitely a deep situation. Any day now, you know, because sometimes you look at life, man, like you said, everything is so thinly held together.
Yeah.
You never know craziness can happen.
Yes.
Going back to Sandy Hook, man, just for us having to deal with that. And I'm sure people in Katrina and all of these things had it 10 times worse than what we were facing out here in New York. But just seeing the level of how quickly people go crazy for gas. People getting actually killed for gas.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
You know, it's interesting, especially a place like New York, how quickly hostilities can rise to the surface. But you know, I wouldn't just say it as New York. I wouldn't even put it to one group over another. You know, there are human instincts that will kick in across any group that in survival. You'd be surprised. Just like some of these planes crash on the side of mountains, and you know, help doesn't get to them for 3 weeks, and you know, some of them came straight cannibals. You know, it's like, yo, we gonna die, or we gonna cut this leg off, and y'all gonna go over there. It's crazy. And you know what? If you ask any of them before they got on the plane for that flight, they're like, would you ever eat a human thigh? They'd probably get away from me. But 2 weeks in, they was you know. So the point being, conditions, man, conditions will bring out some stuff in folks that they may not have known they had in them. So you need to know your team.
What does that say about human beings? Like that society, if it's running cool, everybody cool. But as soon as it's running rampant, what, all morals and all things go out the window? Like how?
Well, see, it becomes a slippery slope. I mean, I can't think of a time in history where it has not. I mean, don't get me wrong. Now, there's some beautiful moments during tragedies where people just go all out and open their homes up, and there are some beautiful things. But then there's some dog stuff. That's like, it's like, I mean, did you turn in your humanity card? Are you still in the human family? Some of the stuff that gets done out here.
You know, speaking on this kind of like also opened my mind to a lot of things that I've been watching lately and things like that, just on television. With a lot of these apocalyptic type new movies that are coming out in television shows, from The Strain and, you know, Walking Dead and all of these viruses that come about, to the point where we all have, because it's kind of like these shows are showing scenarios of us being in a straight catastrophic type of situation, and it shows how people turn into, like, you know, very vicious. You know, they're killing whoever, or you know, just for us, like, to maintain a certain level of just survival, of being alive and trying to, you know what I'm saying? I don't know if that's a conditioning thing that's being done, or if it's just entertainment. Or
I wonder. And even this show, I have never watched an episode of, but everybody's talking of it. I don't even want to mess up the name. Family of Thrones? No, it's not.
Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
Now, I've never seen it, but I hear there's some treachery up on that thing.
Yeah, well, that's more about power.
But straight up cutthroat stuff too, right? Scheming and killing and
just for the,
setting people up and all this. So, I mean, what society that thrives off that? That's the number one thing people eat popcorn too.
Yeah,
so, I mean, that stuff
that's the number one thing on television.
Yeah, that's gonna bathe your consciousness too. Now, I don't think that's all that in front of you don't have you know, one to have an interest in so much double-handed, you know, shady stuff. To, oh wow, let me see what he's gonna do next. But then to have the large number of societies kind of co-sign that this is what we like to watch. I mean, but I'm sure there's some redeeming stuff, right? There are some good people in there, right?
I haven't watched it deep enough to see that, but from what I've seen, it's all treachery so far.
All right, so maybe somebody will write in the comment section, is there a decent person on that show? And if not, why are you watching it up to this piece? But yeah, it's like they're preparing us to like, okay, this how bad daddy can get. So when it get like that, you're already desensitized. Like, oh well, this is what I saw in that episode. So who knows? Is it being? They do so much psyop stuff, man, on so many levels.
It's kind of teaching us on how to act when things go crazy.
Right.
When I watch those shows, that's what I think about. I think about the reality of if this really happened, would I be ready to kill my sister if she turned into a? And then you know, like these are the things that they're dealing with. Even though it's a movie, it's a certain reality within that.
Yeah, yeah. You know, Hollywood definitely, and just other aspects of media, has been used as a conditioning tool. I mean, since its earliest days, man. You know, they use it to shape public opinion. You know, they use it to drive public opinion. You know, to paint enemies and to paint friends, and to point people at this one and tell them to leave that one alone. So we must never ever allow their media, their newspapers, their television, even the stuff we get with these apps, you know, everybody apping up on everything, all that stuff you don't need. So watch the access you're giving people to your consciousness, because it's implanting things. And you know, even if you block it consciously, oh, I know this is garbage, it's seeped in your subconscious too. And it's going to play on you in ways you may not even know.
You can't unsee any of these things that you've seen.
You can't unsee any of this, you're right. Right.
You know what I'm saying?
You know, that's something. You know, that's so interesting. And I know it's probably annoyed some of my friends. Definitely annoyed some of my family. You know, I'm not in the guess what circle. People take me out to guess what circle quick. They say, oh, guess what? I said, you know, because first thing I usually say is it positive? And most people don't even want that, because they're ready to like, damn, you're not supposed to ask me that. I'm just supposed to just tell you this jacked up story, and you go, and they say, well, no, not really. But I said, you know what? I think I'll hold off on it, unless if I can help with it. But if it's just some rumor type stuff where something else was done,
like feeding into something,
right? And people, I have people get almost offended, like, damn, you don't want to hear this bad story I gotta tell you. But I mean, if you don't police what you let in, man, you know, it's just, and people just, and it's not, I don't know what, some people get a glee out of giving bad news. They will seek you out. I gotta tell as many people as I can about this, and it's like it's an odd thing. So, and back to the thing, the media, anything you need to regulate if you see it having the potential of impacting your outlook, your spiritual continence. You don't want things to pull from you.
All my wrists is frogs.